Welcome to another edition of Well-Adjusted Mama. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Brayton, and you're in for a treat today. I have this amazing guest, Nathalie Walton, and we're speaking on empowering women on their motherhood journey. Nathalie is the CEO and co-founder of Expectful. It's a holistic wellness app that hopeful, expecting, and new moms will definitely benefit from. Nathalie is also the mother of her 20-month-old son, Everett. She has spent the last decade in leadership roles at Airbnb, Google, and eBay. She has an MBA from Stanford Graduate School of Business and a BA in economics from Georgetown University. She's a Forbes Next 1,000 Entrepreneurs to Watch and is on the Fast Company Executive Board. We really dive deep into all things motherhood and empowerment, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. Hi, Nathalie. Welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have you on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I am delighted to be here.
So, I really want to start off with just, our focus today is empowering women on their motherhood journeys. And I think the best way to start is sharing your motherhood journey.
Yeah, so I've had a challenging start to my motherhood journey, although now everything is okay. But my motherhood journey started, I was pregnant with my son in 2019. And at first I had a very easy pregnancy. I was like, I've got this down. And I've been a wellness junkie my entire life. And so I was breezing through pregnancy. And then around the 20-week mark, when I went in for that midway appointment, I found out that I was high risk. My journey became really stressful, to put it blunt. I didn't know if we would make it. I really didn't know if we would survive. And if for sure, I didn't think we'd make it to term. And it got to a point where I was going to the hospital 5 times a week for the NST, the non-stress test, and the Doppler test, and then the regular appointments with the high-risk doctor. And at some point, I was like, wow, this is really challenging, and I can't really bear this stress. And I came across this app called Expectful, and Expectful was or is a meditation and sleep app. And even though I've been this wellness junkie, this well mama, or well person my entire life, when I started using Expectful's meditations and I got really into hypnobirthing, I managed to stabilize, and that introduced me to Expectful, and really allowed me to make it to term. And so that was my long story of my pregnancy, and then that is how I really started my career in finding a way to create wellness solutions for women in pregnancy and motherhood, just based on my challenging experience as a woman, and particularly as a Black woman.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And, I think that's interesting. We do a lot of wellness education, obviously, here in my practice, for preconception, pregnant, and new moms. And, even women that are the most prepared, they're doing their thing before they get pregnant, while they're pregnant. There's things that are out of our control. That's the bottom line here. And there's such a surrender that has to come with that. But it's such a valuable life lesson. And I think what I'm hearing from you is you already had that foundation, and then you threw this life obstacle in there, and it's just even brought more into your life because of it.
Absolutely. I think the words that you're saying could not ring more true. It's hard, especially for women that have, they're so in control of their life, and they're like, I'm doing everything right. I'm preparing.
They're type A.
Yeah.
Like myself.
Type A. And like I said, most of my pregnancy, registering for everything, thinking this is something I can control. I can control that we have everything we need. And then, of course, life is what happens after you make plans. But it's how do you prepare yourself to get used to that discomfort, and the fact that as a new mom, you don't have control over anything. And that was a lesson I think I had to learn in life. And I was constantly reminded that over the last, my son is now 20 months, over the last, 24 months since pregnancy, since I was in pregnancy, but you don't have control over anything. And I think that's part of being a well-adjusted mom is surrendering to the fact that this journey is out of your hands.
For sure. And I think that, one of the many things that Tony Robbins taught me is there's value in certainty, but there's also value in uncertainty. And in general, I think more of us like really thrive in that certainty, but that can do us a disservice, right? And specifically pregnancy and motherhood, the more comfortable you are with uncertainty, the more I think you can go with the flow, you can thrive. Your nervous system is going to be adaptable to manage whatever comes up.
Absolutely. That you couldn't be more correct. That is absolutely correct.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about how meditation specifically can help women during pregnancy and motherhood with this adaptability.
Yeah, so there's actually a lot of research here. I mean, part of the reason why I love this so much is one, from a personal perspective, is like I have this personal experience of like being very stressed out and having a pregnancy that was worsening week by week in terms of the outcome. And then when I started to calm down and really get into meditation, hypnobirthing, I saw this change that I was like, wow, this is something I didn't expect. So like from a personal perspective, I have that, but there's a lot of research that shows that using meditation apps during pregnancy and early motherhood reduces depression, it reduces anxiety. Here's the thing that I love, because I ended up having an emergency C-section, but I labored until the very end unmedicated. And there's research that shows that getting a meditation practice and getting into hypnobirthing, having a hypnobirthing practice reduces pain in labor. And I think that is like anecdotally, that's true. So, I mean, I didn't think it was that bad because I had invested in hypnobirthing, and it was I realized that so much of our pain is in our mind. So not only does cultivating a meditation practice reduce stress, reduce anxiety in pregnancy and postpartum, but it also reduces pain. And it's like, who that's giving birth would not want that?
That's right. Easier labor and delivery. And it's funny because I worked with a hypnotherapist, and I did hypnosis during my pregnancy to visualize the birth I wanted. And that is exactly what happened. The birth that I saw during my pregnancy is the birth that occurred in my home in the water. So my birth was unmedicated. And I also agree. Like, I would say it was intense, but I never felt like, give me the epidural. I also wasn't laying on my back, but I could manage it. My body was equipped to manage the intensity of the labor contractions. And I know that my mindset had that in my physical body, I was in good shape, right? So there's the mind and the body. But if you work on both during your pregnancy, it can really help create a really positive outcome.
Yes, I agree. That is everything. You're just speaking like so much truth. And that's beautiful that you had that experience as well.
Thank you. It is. I feel very grateful for that, because I do recognize that even with all the planning and preparation I had, emergency C-sections still happen, right? I mean, I have colleagues and friends that I've seen go through that I totally was like, oh, they're going to have this amazing home birth, and then they had an emergency C-section. So there's always things that can happen out of our control, but we can still do a lot to prepare and prepare for success and have an empowered birth regardless. I feel like what I'm hearing from you is you had an empowered birth, even though it was an emergency C-section, right? And there's two options with birth. It's either empowered or disempowered. But it's not necessarily empowered doesn't mean that it's natural, it's vaginal, it's unmedicated. That's not interchangeable. So, I think that's important to note. So let's talk about, I'm assuming with meditation, there's research to show during the pregnancy, because mom's stress is lowered, her stress hormones are lowered, that's directly impacting the fetus. Have they been able to measure like the stress hormone component? And
Yes. Thank you for bringing this up. This is a beautiful point. And honestly, this is why so many women use our app, is because the meditation allows women to connect with their babies and have, that great outcome with their babies. And so on Expectful on our website, we have a section on research that just talks about all of everything that I've mentioned scientifically, but what you just mentioned about reducing stress hormones and that impact on the fetus. And so there is research that shows that meditation and reduced stress during pregnancy has favorable outcomes for the baby. And so, I mean, I think as mothers, we're always wanting to do what is best. We will lift a car if we have to provide the best outcome for a child. And something that is really simple to do is like take 5 minutes a day to reduce your own stress, to empower your own baby to live a happier and a stress-free life. So there's absolutely a scientific correlation that meditation does improve the stress of the fetus.
Yeah. So, I mean, and you just said 5 minutes. That's the commitment, is 5 minutes a day.
Yeah. 5 minutes.
Everyone can give 5 minutes a day to the health of their own health and the baby's health. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, especially while you're pregnant and if you have no other children. I think
especially if you're a first-time mom. But even if you're not a first-time mom, 5 minutes, you've earned it. You've earned those 5 minutes. I was thinking 20 minutes. I mean, you can certainly do more, right?
You absolutely. I mean, on our app, we have meditations that are anywhere from 5 minutes to 20 minutes, even longer. But those 5 minutes a day are really great. And I think what's really important is, and I'm happy that I did this, was cultivating that practice. Well, I've been meditating for a long time, but really cultivating it in pregnancy, because as a new mom, you know, your world is rocked, and it's even harder to find time for yourself. But it's never been more important than being a new mom and finding that time for yourself, because not only are you going to allow yourself to rest, but you're going to just be a better parent. You're going to be a better partner. You're just going to be a better you. And so building that habit in pregnancy is great, because I think that if there's a time in your life where you need that calm 5 minutes, it's, postpartum. And that could be like, I know everyone says sleep when your baby's sleeping, which is not true, especially in the newborn phases. But there are times where, you might be able to take a 5-minute break when your baby is napping.
Yes.
And that is something that is a great time to just center and re-energize yourself to prepare for the marathon that you're currently running.
Yeah, I do want to talk about that, because I know personally I had a pretty regular meditation practice during my pregnancy as a first-time pregnant mom, and that newborn, especially those first few weeks when you're super raw and overwhelming and so much thrown at you that you're learning and dealing with, and you're sleep deprived. I had challenges maintaining my meditation practice those first few weeks. So I don't know. I mean, I didn't work with this app. So I'm thinking the app can help with some accountability or support. I mean,
yeah, so what's great about our app is we have a postpartum program. We have the first 40 days, which I think are probably, it's all hard, but
it's all hard, but those first 40 are hard. Support is so important then.
Yeah. And so someone could follow along with our program, and just let's say you're on day 23, you select that meditation and it really connects with what you're going through that day. We also have lactation, like breastfeeding or pumping meditations. So if you're going through that, that's a time where you're probably not you're doing a lot, but you might have some downtime to meditate. And those are some of my favorite meditations that I was able to listen to while breastfeeding and pumping, because it's my body's being a vessel there, and you've time to relax. And so we have those meditations. We have stroller meditations for you to do while on a stroller walk or baby wearing. So I think that having an app like Expectful is very helpful for those postpartum periods. The other thing I would add is sleep. Okay, this is everyone's problem, and it was my problem for the first year of my son's life. And we have a lot of meditations for cat naps. And so even if I only had 30 minutes, I would love doing one of our sleep meditations, that was a targeted cat nap. And honestly, sometimes I would do the meditation and I'd fall asleep, and it would only be for 15 minutes, but those 15 minutes felt like 2 hours, and it would power me through the day. So I would definitely recommend postpartum women check out.
Oh yeah. I mean, God, I love what you just mentioned. And like, my practice is in Hoboken, New Jersey. And what I see with a lot of new moms, like with really young babies, they're pushing the stroller, they're on social media or they're texting. They're breastfeeding or pumping, they're on social media or texting. They're filling up their time, but they're not connecting or bonding necessarily with their baby. And they're certainly not bonding and connecting with themselves. They're in the external, and the body is so depleted. Everything just gets so depleted after you give birth, right? This is a time to refill, rejuvenate, heal. I mean, it takes 12 months for your body to recover from that pregnancy. It's a lot. So like you mentioned, when you're pregnant, if your baby's sleeping or if you're pumping, like, who cares about social media? Listen to a meditation.
I love what you're saying, because that is just the reality of what we're living in, in the next time and age, and it's more depleting. And I think that also gets
it is more depleting, and it creates like negative stress. And what you're talking about is the reverse.
It is, yeah. And then I also, like, with scrolling on Instagram, I think a lot of things that I see and I hear from our users is this mom guilt. Like, they see all of these, influencers or celebrity mamas who have bounced back, and then people feel bad about themselves. And it just creates this ongoing cycle. So instead of social media, I think it's like, invest in yourself.
Totally. So doing a meditation or calling a girlfriend who is going to uplift you and be positive. And that's what you want to surround yourself with during pregnancy. And I would say at least those first 9 months postpartum, because energetically we're so vulnerable to our external environment, that we need to protect our energy.
Absolutely. 100%.
And the people that are the Debbie Downers, you got to, say, listen, I need a break from you, because, you're not here to give more to them. No, you have a baby to take care of, and you need to give to yourself and your little family. That's where your energy deserves to go, not to the girlfriend who's always pulling you down.
Could not agree more.
And then you're like, why am I friends with this person?
Yeah, I think that period in your life really causes people to question a lot. I speak with a lot of women who, and myself included, changed their profession after, on postpartum. It's kind of like, if something is not serving you, it becomes very apparent when you, if you're working, if you go back to work, or in that time, it's your life has been rocked and changed. And so if you've got a girlfriend that's not serving you, or a family member, or your job, it's it becomes very apparent. And that's why I think a lot of people make some pretty major changes in that period.
I would agree with that. And I also would add that, just going through pregnancy and birth, there's an opportunity for women that are really into growing themselves to have huge consciousness growth, right? And just these huge evolution in their state. So it's just so much like the stuff that you're like, kind of tolerated before is so I am done. I'm over. Adios. Like you said, it could be a job. I mean, sometimes it's even your partner, right? It's like, okay, I mean, it sucks because you're the father of my child or whatever, but you're not willing to tolerate what you used to. And I think that's a beautiful thing. It's hard. It's painful. It's scary, but we all deserve to live to our highest potential. And that involves surrounding ourselves with people that are going to support us in that.
Yes, exactly. You've said it so beautifully.
Yeah, thank you. So let's talk a bit about lack of access. So, we're in the United States. And so you would assume in the United States, this country spends more on healthcare than any other country in the world, that we would have these amazing pregnancy and birth outcomes and baby outcomes. And yet we don't. We really rank really pretty crappy in that area, especially for women of color. So I want to have you talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So, I am a Black woman, and I'm fortunate in that I have, a great education. I have a master's degree, and I've always had access to great care. And even though I have all of these wonderful benefits and I'm abundantly blessed, I knew that going into pregnancy that I was going to have a difficult challenge to face. And that's because I'm a Black woman. And I knew that because I looked at Serena Williams.
Yes, I was thinking Serena Williams. I mean,
Yeah.
wildly successful woman who had this inequality during her birth.
Yeah, I'm grateful that she has shared her struggles. You have Beyonce. If Beyonce had a difficulty in pregnancy and as a Black woman, I think we're all doomed because there are not many people that have more resources and access than Beyonce, Allyson Felix. So there's just a reality that Black women in the U.S. Unfortunately, our rates are we die in childbirth at a rate of 4 times that of white women.
And 4 times. That's outrageous.
Yeah, it is. It's just unconscionable. And that almost happened to my son and myself. We were in that super high risk category where we had this emergency birth and we might not have made it. So I went into pregnancy and motherhood knowing this was the reality, and it was true. And so that's part of the reason why I came on to Expectful, was because I'm building a solution, meditation and sleep access, and just overall, Expectful is evolving into this wellness platform. Because we're an app, anyone can access it. Our price point for the app, it's $10 a month, it's $60 a year. But we have a program called Helping Hands. So if there's someone where that membership is not affordable, we ask them to email us, and we will give them access to.
That's amazing. So this is really, providing access to anyone who has a smartphone or a computer.
Anyone that has access to a smartphone or a computer can access this, and it's scientifically proven to reduce your stress and improve your outcomes. Of course, meditation and sleep can't solve everything, but it can certainly do a lot, particularly for those people in stressful situations. One of the things I'm most proud of is shortly after coming on board, I created a library called Black Mamas Meditate. And this is a meditation specifically for Black women that, do go through. It's proven. I had to create this because Black women face much more dire outcomes than anyone else. And so this is a meditation collection to walk them through some of the challenges that they might be facing and provide calm that speaks directly to them and some of the challenges they might be facing. So I'm excited that we have this collection. I'm sad that we had to create this, but I'm also just happy for people that can't afford access to care that they can now access that through Expectful.
Yeah. This is mind blowing. I'm thinking back. I went to Bali several years ago, and I had the opportunity to meet with Robin Lim, who's a very well-known midwife, and she's a Filipino background. And she mentioned her sister living in, middle America, maybe Arkansas, and who almost died during birth. So this is not even just an issue, I think, for Black women, but women of color, right? Asian, Indian, Hispanic. So it's really just so crazy that this is still exists in the United States, 2021.
Yeah, no, it is crazy. It's everyone is impacted by it. I think Black women experience it the worst, but I think women of color in rural communities, women experience this, and a lot of people think that it's because of economic disparities or access to educational background. But I think my example, and I mentioned Serena and Beyonce, it's not that. That's not the problem. It's inherent. It's racism that is inherent. It's systematic. And so that's the problem. But you're right. This is something that everyone faces. No one should face this. Everyone should be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And they should have the ability to advocate for themselves. And so that's a bit of what we're building is. I would love for the system itself to improve, but until it does, we have a bit of support for women.
Yeah. And I think, there's the racial component. And then there is I think a financial component as well. Specifically in the US, we don't have, healthcare is not the same for everyone, right? Certainly, the type of insurance you have and like the means to pay for out of pocket for services. I talk a lot about having a birth team on my podcast, which involves a lot of out of pocket expenses, a doula, and hiring a practitioner possibly who's not in your network, which means money out of pocket, working with a chiropractor and acupuncture. All these things are additional out of pocket expenses, and it requires the financial means to afford them. And it's not fair that's the current case. I don't really know the full solution. I mean, our whole healthcare is such a mess. That's a whole nother podcast, but
I agree with you. It's
right?
very frustrating. So Expectful, we recently launched services on our platform. So part of what you're talking about, we launched the ability to book a lactation consultant, to book a nutritionist, appointment with a nutritionist, or infant sleep consulting. And these are like real problems. If you are wanting to breastfeed and you can't, like, it's a devastating thing. Like, it's something I personally experienced. And I had the fortune of I paid a lot out of pocket to access these. And same with nutrition. It's like, I feel like you're in your OB appointment for like 5 minutes every, 2 weeks. And like, you don't have time to talk about nutrition or infant sleep. If your newborn's not sleeping, that is going to impact you like severely. But it's really hard to find those providers, and they're very expensive. And so one of the things that I've done, our team has done is we do have these services available on our app. They're still out of pocket. We're working.
They're virtual services.
They're virtual. Yeah. But they're at a more affordable price point than most. And so like a lactation consulting is $50 for.
Wow. That's very affordable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I spent like $1,000 on my lactation consultant, and, it was in my home and it was multiple visits. So and I valued that. But to your point, anything is better than nothing, right? If that's what you can afford.
Yeah, no, I think it's just like meeting people where they are.
Yes.
And so
and letting them know, like, this is an option. Like, in other words, instead of just saying, I can't get my baby to latch, so I guess I can't breastfeed. Well, work with somebody who's a specialist in that area, And to your point, OBs and even pediatricians, if they're in-network practitioner, their visits are very short. They don't have the time to talk about all of these other topics. And that's where these other practitioners can fill in those gaps.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I was just thinking also, there's a hospital in right behind where my office is in Jersey City, which was in the neighborhood was mostly Black. And they would have these teenage Black girls come in and they would section them, section, because it was making the hospital money. So they were all overall, from when I guess, young, healthy, certainly could have had vaginal deliveries. And it was just like, because they didn't have the education to advocate for themselves, that's what was happening. And the hospital had to completely change its policies. It was like 50% C-section rate.
Oh my gosh, that is, as someone who had a C-section, that just breaks my heart, because it's a painful recovery. And it's debilitating, especially, being a new mom and needing to care for someone else. And, but I completely understand that. I think that, in my experience, hospitals and medical providers, they have different incentives than we do as the mother. Like, their incentives are, it felt like a lot for me personally was like liability.
Liability. CYA is like top of the list. They make so many decisions based on that. There's such a fear of a lawsuit.
Yeah. And that is infuriating, because it's like, you're not going to get what's right for you. It's what's right for them so that they don't get a lawsuit, but that might not be what's right for you.
That's right. That's right.
So having that in mind throughout your pregnancy and, as a new mother is critical.
It's critical. And I think based on what we're saying here, as a pregnant woman, if you're listening now, that's where you interview birth providers. You find out what their C-section rates are. You find out what hospital they deliver with, or you choose a birthing center or home birth, right? Realizing that there's multiple options. Generally, I had midwives as my practitioners. I had a lot of time with them. So it was a very different relationship than if I had given birth with an OB.
Oh,
in a hospital. Right. So, that's an option for women that are low risk. Obviously, if you're a high risk pregnancy, then you need to be in a hospital with an OB, but that's the minority of pregnancies.
I agree. It's doing what is best for you and what you can afford, and but just knowing that the traditional system isn't always the best system for you.
Yeah.
It's
just knowing what your options are, right? Then you're making an educated decision either way. Okay, these are my options. These are what they cost. I can budget for this, whatever. This is your pregnancy and birth is a time that I feel like is worth investing in. If it means not taking a vacation or something, you take that money, you put it towards your self-care. That's huge. Or you get the cheaper nursery furniture. You know what I mean? Is there a way to move that money so that you are using it towards your health and your baby's health?
I love that. One of the things I've recently redid my registry, and I shared that with our users at Expectful, and I spent so much time thinking what's the best swaddle? I probably spent 3 or 4 hours thinking about what's the best swaddle or the best stroller. If you just think about how much time the average woman the average person thinks about these baby products, you might spend 20 plus hours thinking do I have the right car seat? And a car seat is a little bit different because of safety, but you spend so much time on these material things that don't make a difference. But people are just, I think in general, people are hesitant to invest in what is going to really help me through this process. Who's the right labor team? Who's the lactation consultant? Who is, the sleep consultant that's going to help me? Who's the mental health person? Do I have a mental health specialist on speed dial that if I'm having problems with my relationship that I can call up and they're going to be okay, we can get you in and we can navigate this for you so that you can get back to life. I've spoken with countless mothers that are oh, wow, I had no idea that this is what having a newborn would do to my relationship. And they're and I don't know how to solve it. And so it's definitely worth registering even for these items. That's what I'm trying to create a movement is register for your lactation consultant.
Register for your self-care. Yeah. Your maternity chiropractor, your acupuncture. I love that. Friends and family, that is a much better way to gift you. I think as first-time moms, we think we need all these, like you said, material items. And then once the baby comes, you're I don't need half this crap.
You don't need half.
Or maybe your friend gave birth a couple of years ago and she has some extra things, that you can borrow from her for the next things that you only need for a few months, right? Just when they're really tiny, they don't need a lot of clothes, all this stuff that we just think they need and they really don't. And the money could be used other places. That is for a baby shower. That I love that idea to have a registry that is really about services and things, whether it's prenatal massage, things that are just going to really make mama feel taken care of and supported. The other big thing that I, was able to spend for, but I know it was a postpartum doula. I didn't have family members who could come and help me after I gave birth. And man, I needed someone in my house with me. I needed that. And my husband went back to work shortly after because he's self-employed. So my postpartum doula was huge. She was worth every penny. And, but that's an out-of-pocket expense, right? So, I would have totally registered for that.
I had a postpartum doula too. And it was, those are things that you need.
You need them. You need them. The strollers that have the fancy, it's the Mercedes. It's a lot of it is just the brand name that you're paying for. But the actual function of it, you could pay a lot less for.
Yeah. Or get it,
or get it secondhand.
Secondhand. There's a huge secondhand market because people only use it for a short amount of time and then, leech off of the people that do spend all that money and then get something that's been used once at a fraction of the cost.
Yes.
Invest in yourself and then you'll be better off than everyone else.
Totally, man. I would definitely do it differently if I had a second baby. Had no idea. And I was like, wow, I'm spending now in hindsight, I was like, oh, I wasted a lot of money that
I did too.
I could have spent better. And to your point with my shower registry, I would have totally, like people do that for their wedding. Like they'll have people give money towards their honeymoon account, right? Which makes a lot of sense. Like they're investing in this, experience together and creating these magic memories. Like that's what life is about. It's not about like another toaster oven.
Exactly. I know. I registered for my honeymoon and it was one of the most memorable trips of my life. And all of this stuff, it's like, you're going to donate it anyway. So, you're not taking that swaddle with you like 20 years down the road. It's just going to go out the door.
Right. Maybe, like my car seat and everything, maybe you can get somebody to get some of it, you get $100 or whatever, but it's like at a fraction of what you paid for it. So, especially in an urban area, I know there's a huge secondhand market and you can get, stuff, really nice stuff, even maternity clothes. I mean, it's just like, these are things that we only wear for a few months and then, they're in good shape and, you move them on. So I didn't even know that this was an option or thought about it when I was pregnant. So it's good to know that. Is there any other last thoughts you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm so grateful I love your message and what, everything that you're doing. And it's just so critical to change the conversation around, what does it mean to be a well-adjusted mama? And it's everything that we discussed. It's putting yourself first. It's, preparing, for the unknown. And to that, I would love to give your audience, well-adjusted mamas, access to Expectful to try out our meditations, our sleep access, and even check out some of our services that are accessible online. And so we've created a special code for you, and that can be accessed at expectful.com/well-adjusted. And so and also I'll share it with you, but I hope that everyone can access that and share it with people that perhaps don't have the access or support that they need during pregnancy and early parenthood.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Nathalie, for sharing that. And, this also speaks to just the value of technology, right? How old is this app?
This app has been around for, I guess, almost 3 years.
Okay. So I was pregnant. My son's almost 4. So this app wasn't even around when I was pregnant. And I would have loved to have had access to this app to do these meditations. So I just love that. There's such an evolution out there, and there's, even podcasts, right? There's no charge. You listen to them anywhere. So the information, the internet, everything is just getting out there to a level that wasn't available, a few years ago. And it's such a blessing. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing about Expectful and your story. And, it's such an inspiration. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for all that you do.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode with Nathalie. I personally did. And I learned a lot as well from her. And as a reminder, if you or anyone is in their preconception stage of your life where you're looking to start trying to conceive in the next few months, I highly recommend checking out my online program at Brayton Birth Method, which is about creating physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health for you and your partner before you actively try to conceive in order to create a healthy baby, an empowered birth experience, and really shift the type of motherhood that you enter into. You can find it at my website, drlaurabrayton.com.